Welcome to all of our creative agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, December 4th, 2024, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 506. We have an unusual situation. We had a question before the call started, so we'll get to Colette first. But before we do that, Tim, what would you like to add?
Actually, nothing right now. We're going to spend some time later on after we get Colette's question out of the way. We're going to talk about late mortgage and some other stuff that's going on. That we'll get to that in a minute. Why don't you go ahead and take our question?
Please, would you unmute yourself, Colette? Realtor auctioneer.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hi, everybody.
Realtor extraordinaire auctioneer. I like it.
Right. Yeah. So I did have something kind of curious that came up today, and I've had interesting things pop up in Harris County before, but generally they have to do with investors that can't, get the money up to closing. And so they tie the property up trying to find, either somebody to take their place or something else. But in this situation, I had a client call off of one of our mailings that we sent out through all the leads. And she called me and told me that her grandmother had passed away. The home had sustained some damage during beryl. It had some roof damage, it had some other damage on it, this, that, and the other. And I went and looked at the property, and I called the title company and did a title search, just because in situations where things are not fixed, it's always a good idea to find out if there's anything else on the property. And it looked clear and everything was good except for a couple of outstanding things that were pretty nominal. And I took the property, and when I was at the property with her having the locks changed, her cousin came in and told me that the property was under probate. And I said, well, we did a title search. Nothing like that popped up. There was a probate that was closed out in 2009 from a Helen Maddox. And he said, yeah, that was my mother. And I said, okay. And he said, I allowed my aunt to live here, but the house is essentially mine. And I said, well, I don't see how that's possible if the probate closed out in 2009 and there's a general warranty deed that was issued on the property. So what he did is he went to the county and he tried to reopen the probate, and the judge denied it and said, no, there's no grounds to reopen probate. So I took the listing. I saw all of that online and thought, you know what, I think we're good. This is the only asset that Dorothy had. She's got one living granddaughter, and that's it. We did an affidavit of heirship and we took it to the title company, and it was just getting ready to close when they went to update the title commitment and told me that just a few weeks ago, he put a statement of facts where he said all of these things that he thought were correct, and he filed that. And they're checking with underwriting right now to see if that's going to prevent moving forward with the closing date. So I've never come across that in Texas. I've come across similar things, but like I said, it wasn't something where someone has said, well, I'm due this house. I didn't know that this woman had gotten a general warranty deed back in 2009, but I'm essentially the owner of this property. And I'm curious if anybody else is, or, he's at least due 50% of the proceeds, which is, I'm assuming, where that's going to shake out to. Now, if I was looking at it in a different way, I would have told the heir, I would have told her, let's just put it into a trust. I'll buy your beneficial interest in the trust and we'll just bypass it altogether. But we've got another buyer on the line here, so I can't, I could do that, but it makes it more complicated if I do that.
So why was the probate filed? There was other assets other than that real estate, which wasn't in it?
So she didn't actually file probate. So the granddaughter did not file probate. We did an affidavit of heirship because there are no other assets that we could find. This was the only asset that we could find. I don't even think when her grandmother died that she had any insurance. I don't think whatever was in place. I think essentially a little bit of money probably in her bank account, and this house was essentially all she had.
I'm just wondering how you got the lead from us. Something must have been filed.
Yeah, I think maybe she tried to file an affidavit of heirship in Fort Bend County, and that must have been what triggered it. Because when I went back, I actually found her lead. I mean, I found her name in our leads, But when I asked her if she filed probate, she said no. She had just filed, somebody had told her to file an affidavit of heirship, and that's what she did. She filed the affidavit. And I said, okay, that's interesting. She didn't file it correctly. She didn't fill it out correctly. So we had to redo it at the title company. But she did her best. You know, she's very young. She's, I think, maybe late 20s. So she didn't really know what she was doing. She was just trying to do the best that she could, knowing that she's the only living grandchild to her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious if anybody else had come across anything like this. I mean, I've never, you know, a statement of facts I've heard of, but not as it pertains to a real estate transaction. Usually that's something that is more under different litigation and different circumstances because it's a sworn statement.
I didn't exactly have it happen, but somebody I know very well, close to home, yeah, me had a situation where one of my siblings threatened to do that because they were offended that they weren't the executor. And
Okay.
we checked with the title company, and they said, "Oh, let's close quick before they do it," because unfortunately, it's all going to depend on whether your title company is willing to close or not with that showing up, and whether they're, and if they're not. You might want to offer the guy something, 5 or 10 grand to go away. It might be cheaper than fighting it out. It's all going to depend on whether your title company will. Generally, they're pretty squeamish. If there's allegation of fraud or something, they're not going to want to close over it and take a chance. Have you gotten any indication yet from the title company?
No, it just popped up this morning. I mean, honestly, we thought we were good to go because, like I said, I had already opened title on it and already did the check. So I already knew that there were some taxes that weren't paid. Now, he claimed that he's been paying the taxes, but we've got a tax certificate that says otherwise. There's no payments that have been made since like 2018. So we were already aware that there were some taxes that were owed on the property. And other than the taxes being owed, and a very small nominal, like $498 HOA from like 1998 that's still lingering out there on title. That was the only thing that was on the property, which is why I agreed to take it. I was like, you know, we can work with this. It's a $200,000 property. I'll take that all day long, and the heir will walk away, and there's enough money in it to pay me as a realtor to market it and then earn my money back.
Does your client have an attorney involved in this at this point? No.
I mean, no.
Yeah, you may, if they refuse to close, you may need to threaten him with tortious interference or whatever the title is, and offer him 5 grand to go away, or we're going to sue you for, you know, and you're going to owe the estate another 50,000. Unfortunately, it varies from state to state. Bruce, you had something you wanted to add? Have you run into that?
No, but I want to understand the situation a little bit more. So this guy that has filed the whatever you called it, he was the son. His mom owned the house before. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the situation was that, let's say his mother bought the house back in the 1990s, I would assume. The mother contracted breast cancer. Her sister, Dorothy, moved in with her and took care of her. Dorothy was the executor of her estate under her will. Now, her will does state that the home was supposed to be sold and that her son, Kevin, and Dorothy were supposed to split the proceeds 50-50. So what happened is Dorothy probated Helen's will, and I'm just rolling the dice and guessing, but there was some insurance and other assets that were stated in that will when I looked it over. And I'm guessing that what Kevin and Dorothy did is Dorothy said, I'll take the house. I'll give you all these other assets. And that's where the general warranty deed came from. Now that Dorothy has passed away, Kevin wants the house too. That's my overview of it. I could be wrong, but that's essentially what it feels like. And I usually go by my gut feeling. That's what it feels like. He got the cash way back in the mid 2000s, and now he wants the house too. And what he told her at that time was, yeah, that's fine. You take the house, I'll take the money. And now that she's passed away, he's just come back and said, oh no, it says in the will that, you know, the house was supposed to be 50% mine. And how are you going to argue that? Everybody, including the attorney that did that probate at that time, has since passed away. So it's, and I agree, in the state of Texas, a general warranty deed usually supersedes everything.
Have you looked at the
So-
probate paper trail from when Helen died?
Yes, and that's how I found the copy of the will. So
Okay,
that's how I knew
there's-
in the will it was stated.
Okay, and that paper trail doesn't say anything about dividing of other assets.
I mean,
Okay.
it says essentially that everything that Helen Maddox owned was supposed to be split 50-50 between her sister and her son. And
Got it.
so I'm thinking that what happened is when they probated that will, because that will was probated in court in Fort Bend County, what happened was Dorothy and Kevin worked it out where Kevin took all the cash and Dorothy kept the house. And that's where the general warranty deed came from. And he
Yeah.
must have signed something at some time that agreed to that. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
who wants to get into that for a $200,000 house?
You have the paperwork on the other probate that was filed,
I'm
That's
sorry.
what she's, yeah.
the one in the other county, the smaller probate. Do you have the paperwork on that?
I have what's on public record for it. Yes.
And
I
is it
mean-
a 50-50 split?
It did state in the will that it was a 50-50 split.
That's not the probate that you're dealing with now. That's the one that was filed previously, right?
That's the one that closed out in 2009. And like I said, he tried to reopen that just recently. He tried to reopen it this year. And the judge said there was no grounds to reopen it. It was closed. Everything was done legally. And there were no grounds to reopen that probate from 2009. So after that, he got frustrated, I think, because he knew that the granddaughter was getting ready to sell the house. And that's when he decided to file the statement of facts, trying, just to put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a general warranty deed. I feel like that deed kind of, regardless of whether probate was properly closed and distributed before it closed, and the deed went to his aunt. It's a title issue. To me, it feels, and gosh, I hate to say this because none of us are lawyers on here, but it feels like it's open and closed when a lawyer gets involved.
yeah.
So a litigator needs to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think the title companies, we're a litigious society in North America, just that's what we are.
Yeah.
And title companies, when they're issuing title insurance, they get squeamish on things. I agree. And they want to cover themselves because they don't want to have to litigate it if something comes up later on. But to me, from just a real estate dealing, whether it's probate or any other kind, a general warranty deed, it's not a special warranty deed. It's not an executor deed. It's not anything. It's a standard warranty deed that was issued through a title company in 2009 doing a probate. I'm kind of just curious what the title company is going to say, and I'll share it with everybody when they do online. But I just don't see it going any other way except, he can file all the stories that he wants, but at the end of the day, there's a general warranty deed in place and they can see a clear paper trail and title trail prior to. So how is that going to change anything going forward with a new buyer?
Yeah.
But
And hopefully your title company will accept that along with an affidavit from your client as to what happened.
oh,
I mean,
that's
it's-
actually a really good thought. I hadn't thought about her doing an affidavit. That's
Yeah, a lot of times I have one we're closing right now. A lot of times an affidavit will clear up, the title company say, well, if they're willing to swear to it, an affidavit will insure over it. So that might be an easier solution than hiring an attorney.
Well, if not,
down
then
to
I may
the-
be reaching out to people who are interested in purchasing a buy and hold home because it's great work for equity house. And I'm happy to put it into a trust and, start selling beneficial interest on the trust. So, yeah.
Well, it's come down to whether or not, you can get get title cleared. That's really, obviously what you're dealing with here. And I think if you'll work with a title company and say, what do you need to be able to certify title? If you got a clear title, then, you don't have to worry about it. But that's, you do have you've got conflicting paper. One of them says he's entitled to half of it. He's trying to enforce that with nothing to refute that's been set aside other than it's going to be it's not as, sadly, Bruce is right. Generally it's cut and dried, but this isn't exactly cut and dried. I think you need to get with the title company and say, what do you need? See if you can provide that. If you can't, then get a litigator.
Okay. Yeah, that's some good thought. I'll keep everybody posted online as to what happens on it. Like I said, it's just came out of nowhere, and I was like, wow, I've never actually had this pop up in a probate sort of situation, especially for a probate that was closed out in 2009. You know, that's such a huge time difference. If you lived right down the street from someone, you would have thought at some point in time the assumption would be that you knew that the house was in her name. You know, it's kind of hard to believe that from 2009 to 2024, you never knew that the house was in her name ever. You always assumed that it remained in your mother's name. And I just find that very unbelievable.
I think worst case, you might have to settle. We had a guy in our market 20, 30 years ago, and I always surprised nobody killed him, because every time a property would go into foreclosure, he'd file a $5,000 mechanics lien against the property. He didn't do anything. And then when it got to closing, he would settle for $1,000.
Yeah. I can't remember how, and most investors are great, but there are a couple of that I've come across in 14 years that are not so great. And I forgot what they call it, that they teach investors to file. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's a lien basically that they file on it.
Mechanics lien.
It's not a mechanics lien. It's actually called something else, and I just can't pull the name out. But essentially, what they do is they just tie it up so that, you know, they tie up the earnest money and they tie everything up so that you can't quite just take another buyer and put them in their place like a backup contract. And
absolute worst case is you probably, if this guy knows he's wrong, you could probably settle with them pretty cheap that it might be worth doing. So
I got to tell you, the title, I think the title company, worst case scenario is the title company comes back and tells me he's due 50% of the net proceeds. In case it's terrible for my client, but at the end of the day, she'll walk away with something which is better than nothing. It just won't be as much as she had hoped. But I have a feeling that's going to be worst case scenario, is regardless of litigation or getting into anything, they're going to come back and say, he's on there. We don't have a way to dispute it. The best thing to do would be to split it 50-50, and they're going to just cut him a check for 50% of the net proceeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got a firm buyer at this point, right? You ready? You've got a buyer?
Yeah. It's under contract. I mean, it's getting ready to close in like a week.
Right. So, I mean, obviously what you want to do is put the pedal to the metal and try to get that closing done on time, and keep the heat on everybody to get that done.
Yeah.
And obviously it's one of these, time being of the essence. That's the one card you have to play with him, which is, this has gone so far that, you know, if we don't get this settled before we have to go to closing with this, and we have to delay it, might lose the buyer, you know, a lot of bad things could happen. You'll get less money. To Jim's point, maybe settling for less than half of it to get it done based on expediency. You know, if it comes down to that, if the title company says, well, either that or a surrender of title, then you go back and negotiate with him on a surrender of title and say, I can't get you all of this based on what we've already got in it already. Let's come up with a number that works for both of us. I'll give you some of it.
Yeah. I mean, it all boils down to greed. So, you know, he's got a number. I just haven't dealt with him enough. You know, the only time I've dealt with him were when the constables were escorting him away from the property because he was causing so much of a problem on the day that we were there. Because he didn't, according to them, you know, they pull up title, they see everything, they check everything, and they're like, you don't have any legal rights to be here. And that sort of set them off. So, yeah. So it'll be interesting. But if anybody else comes across that or has come across that, please feel free to email me. Always interested to see what techniques and things were used. So, and I'll update everybody.
And hang around on the call. I know John Cooper's been chatting in some questions. John, if you want to chime in, you've dealt with this, and I've got these other hands that are up, probably maybe not dealing with that, but probably with issues like that. So anybody that brings it up, we'll pull you back up, Colette,
right,
and see if anyone has some insight that we don't have here.
Great. Thanks for your help, guys.
Thank you.
No problem. Roger, I asked you to unmute. Go ahead. What you got, man?
I've run into something. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I've run into similar situations, and I've learned that as soon as I get a listing agreement, I need to contact the title company to get a title insurance report back and look at the exceptions on the title insurance. It brings up all of the stuff that you have here. Talking to the heirs and even the buyers, they may have to go through some processes in order to get the property sold or take less. And they were not aware that there were liens on the property that needed to be paid, as well as they didn't make tax payments on the property, and all of that reduces their stuff. I also get that that insurance title research over to the attorney so that he is aware of what's going on within the whole thing. That endears me to that attorney, and he's going to trust me on the next deal that he gets, because he knows that he's going to get a good report as quickly as possible so that we can have a clean close. Frequently, it happens that there's an ex-wife that did not do a quick claim deed. And I got to say that in Arkansas, is one of only 3 or 4 states in the country that still have dower and curtsy rights on property. And so it's one of those things that you have to get ex-wives at divorce time or whatever. And even if there's I had to sweet talk one guy because he and his wife were in the middle of a divorce. He was a brother of the two that were going to get the property. I said, you need to be very nice to your soon to be ex-wife, because she's going to get half of what you get,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it's just kind of, why do we have to do that? I've also had people say, oh, you don't need to do that. I'll just give them cash and I'll just file a deed at there, and we don't need you on this thing. And I said, well, you're pretty brave. You're pretty brave just doing it on your own like that, because you need a title report, a title insurance report. It's not what the title company says. It's not what the attorney says. It's, can you get insurance on that title? Because if it doesn't get insurance, or that one thing is missing, the title company won't close it, and because they're setting up a court battle down the road with somebody's claim. So.
Oh,
Roger, you got muted there again, buddy.
we lost you, Roger. We didn't mute you out, I promise. We lost you.
No, I lost him completely.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I can
Yeah.
hear you now, but listen, basically what I think the big gist of this, since you're there, is that the one thing you said that you should definitely remember is that if you do pull that data and you find that tax payments weren't made and he claimed that they were, that's obviously going to reduce his take on the deal as well, because somebody's got to settle them out and need to look for all those kinds of things that you can. And Raj, unless you got something else on that, I'm going to take the next person.
Well, the last thing I got to say is, in Arkansas, I told one guy, says, if you just do this on your own, you go file a deed over there, you haven't checked all the way back to the Louisiana Purchase, because Arkansas was included in the Louisiana Purchase. There may be a lien somewhere back there that needs to be clarified. He didn't have an answer for that. So it was just one of those
Back
things.
to the earth without form and void. You didn't go back that far either.
It just let the title insurance company suffer any consequences on what they will or will not insure.
All right, bud. Thank you. Thanks, buddy. Van, you have your hand up there. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello there. Good
Hey
morning.
there.
I have the questions about the California. I had one person come into me now and say he's had the person that a little bit tricky. The mother and daughter leave the house together. The mother give everything. Upon death, everything, the house, all the assets go to the daughter. However, look like right now the daughter in jail, the mother died, and they don't know if the daughter killed the mother or not at this point. They had a little bit left on the mortgage. So now the mortgage, it has stopped paying. And then this person want to come in and try to really pay off the mortgage get the house or have like in control the house on behalf of the daughter sign off. And then one stepbrother somewhere step in and say he want the house. But he's not on the will, but absolutely if the will had to be, if the daughter not kill the mother, but if really kill the mother, then everything would be not belong to her, right? So he come to me and I say, you have to get a lawyer that would be criminal and civil and trust and probate, everything combined together. Right now, she had the public assistant on her legal case, so they don't care about that part, right? They only care about the criminal case. So they would not assist into the whole assign the property, selling it. And I say, no one touch it right now.
Can't make this up.
Right? No one touch it because and even the mortgage people who cannot even foreclosure it because it's no deed, nothing at this point. They couldn't even get that person or the next person who take over to sign up for the foreclosure. So anyone had this experience before?
This is like we had a week like this about a month ago. We just had these wild situations. What's the lawyer saying?
Oh no, so far the person want to buy the house because the house is like 2 million and only maybe $100,000 left in there for the mortgage. That's why they want to buy it. And I say, you don't touch that now. It could go for years. And he said, how about if the mortgage can foreclosure it? I say, yes, they can foreclosure it, but then they can't sell it. No one touches. They can do anything until that criminal case get settled first.
You're absolutely right. And when you said you listed all the different attorneys that are needed, you're absolutely right, except not lumped into one person, but many people who have different cases, whether they have different lawsuits, criminal case, they're going to need multiple attorneys working with them. So you have the criminal one, but they can only handle that. And that would be the advice, is to, just get some attorneys that can advise in the right direction. At the end of the day, that's...
Alyssa asked me to call on John Cooper. John, I think you had something you wanted to add. You're unmuted. Thank you. We didn't mean to cut you off, man. Thank you. Maybe somebody else will have some comments also.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So regardless if the person is in jail, whomever is appointed over the estate and the probate would have authority to sell the house. It would either be full authority or limited authority. You take that authority, you list the house, sell the house, funds would sit in probate. Then once the probate court decides if they need to wait for the criminal case to conclude, they would then distribute accordingly. It's pretty simple. It's not that technical.
The problem is she's the one, the daughter, who's the one have every right into it.
Is she the executor of the estate? So then you would need to contact her attorney, criminal, and have her resign, hire a private fiduciary or some other person over the estate, or the company who holds the loan on the property would just foreclose and take the property. There's nothing that's going to stop the foreclosure unless someone makes payments.
Okay. How about the brother who want to take over now at this point? Because now brother want to the stepbrother want to come in and have that. So it's any fight.
If they're fighting it out between the two, then the best cause of action, she would say, is I need to appoint a third independent neutral party, a fiduciary, which happens all the time out in California. Then that fiduciary would be either appointed limited authority, full authority, have the I would, since she's in jail, just have her step down, say, I'm giving up my rights to as administrator. I'm still the beneficiary of this estate. Appoint a third party fiduciary, let the fiduciary administer the estate, sell the property, put the funds in probate, let the probate funds sit. They can sit there forever, basically, in a non-interest bearing account, whatever. that administrator just gets paid upon, you have to find an administrator that wants to sit and wait for the criminal case to haul out. But I mean, it's a long $2 million house. It's a good estate. They're going to make $30,000 on the estate as an administrator. Let her go through the court case. She has to understand if she killed her mom, she's not getting anything. It's a California law. You can't kill somebody to take their estate. And then from there, whoever gets the money gets the money. And then the court will decide on if it goes to the brother, if it goes to siblings, if it goes up or down, all that stuff.
So I assume it just voids the will, correct?
It could, yes. The law is going to trump the will if the daughter killed the mom.
So it falls to intestate at that point.
Yeah, basically.
It also depends on the actual nature of the judgment. Depends on whether or not she's convicted of murder, manslaughter. There are a lot of degrees of all of that. Some which would allow her to continue to do it or not. The only other thing I'm going to ask is the stepbrother. It's a stepbrother. Is that correct, Van?
Yes.
So.
Oh, it's stepbrother.
Yeah. So he's got no standing in this unless she were willing to quit claim to him, her standing in it, which she could do. They could work out in a separate arrangement or whatever. You're assuming there may be a conflict between them. Who knows what there is in all of this. And, I think there's a lot of hair on this deal. This may be a big challenge to get through. We have a fellow that we work with a lot. These are the kinds of deals he loves. He loves them.
Yeah, I mean, you let me know. I'll take it on.
Right.
The
deed is still in the deceased mother name, right? The deed.
No, there is no right now. If the person has passed away, you don't have a trust, and you're only doing probate. Nobody owns the house currently. The estate owns the house. So you have a beneficiary.
Let me see.
It's in a trust or is it probate?
It's a trust. It's not probate.
It's a completely different situation then. So if it's in a trust and she's the trustee, it makes it actually easier for her to resign. She should think about resigning because she can't fulfill her duties. If she is the only beneficiary of the trust, then she could still appoint a third-party fiduciary of the trustee. I have one going through court right now to have trustees changed. She resigns, appoints it over to a third party, whatever, and then that person can administer the trust. It technically could sit in the trust forever until she figures out the court case, but you do have to, the bank will foreclose. So you need to find some way to either pay off the bank, pay them current, keep it current, or just sell it, put the money in the trust, and then wait for that other court case to handle.
And Tim, I feel compelled to say we actually had this happen 4 or 5 years ago. Somebody said that I'm the heir, but my brother's the executor and he killed my parents. And, but this is the kind of, if anybody's brand new to probate or on the call, this will probably never happen in 30 years of doing business. And don't worry about it. It's just it's a very off the wall situation you'll probably never run into again, Fan.
I have one right now. The beneficiary of the trust is in Florida in jail for murdering somebody, and he sued the trustee for selling the property, even though she had full authority to do so. And it's just racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney fees to go sue everybody. Yeah. And it's his own money. He's suing himself over. So we don't have to make this stuff up. You think of any scenario, it's probably happened. And I could probably find somebody that's happened to.
You guys are just magnets for trouble. That's what it looks like to me.
Yep.
And hey, I appreciate your comments. Randy, we're going to take one more and then we're going to switch off of this and move on. But go ahead and unmute yourself, Randy, and speak up there, bud.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm in the parking lot at a hospital. I'm in the middle of moving my dad to hospice myself. So
sorry to hear that, man.
Well, it's time. Now I've lost my car. It's a big parking lot. Anyway, the Colette that was there on the beginning. If I understood right, I had a very similar deal last year here in Arkansas. The warranty deed from the probate was issued a general warranty deed through a title company. There's title insurance there. And I had the same similar situation. Somebody tried to cloud the title with a memorandum and all sorts of other stuff. So all I did was go back to the original title company that closed it. And I said, here's your choices. Close the deal since you closed it the first time, or you fight the title that you were filing a title claim and you fight it that way. So there's no money out of my pocket. And they said, no problem. We're comfortable with it. We closed it the first time. We'll close it this time. And they closed it in 3 days.
To go back to the prior title policy, you're saying.
Go back to the prior title company, and all they will have to do is probably do a research back to the time they issued title insurance, because they already did the title search before that. And literally, we closed in 3 days with no problems.
Yep.
And you didn't have a murder or anything in this?
There was no murder in that one.
Oh, you're kind of boring, man. It's kind of a boring story.
Well, I've had murders. I've been doing this 30-something years, and I run the Real Estate Investor Association here in Arkansas and the past State Landlord Association president. So I've seen it all. So
it's been an interesting week to discuss situations with a lot of, we always call them a lot of hair on them, you know, where there's a lot of
I love hair. I get bigger discounts.
Yeah, and that's the same thing, you know, other people were saying. And I was talking to a buddy of mine in New Jersey, and you know, he wants to find things with 117 heirs, all of whom hate each other, and multiple lawsuits flying around all over the place. Those are the deals he loves the best.
Well, I had one, not 100 and something heirs, but had 30 something heirs. And the one guy that had nothing to do with the family had just gotten out of prison, and it was a Medicaid deal, and the deed had a imperfection in it, and the title company wanted everybody to sign again, and he was refusing. And I said, well, you could go back to jail for Medicaid fraud on this deal, just trying to talk to him a little bit. He goes, I don't care. I got 3 squares. I can beat up people. I can do all sorts of things. So bring it on. And so he was in Sallisaw, Oklahoma, and there's a famous, somewhat unknown barbecue place there called Wild Horse Mountain Barbecue. And I said, oh, come on, let me just come over and talk to you. I'm looking for an excuse to go get that barbecue. And he goes, you know about that place? And I said, yeah, that's the best barbecue in the country. And he goes, you're all right. Come on over. We'll have some of that, and I'll sign whatever you need me to sign.
There you go. That's a good story.
And he was a big dude. He was about 6'5" and looked like a Hell's Angel guy.
I love that story. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your comment. That's great. Thank you for chipping in there.
Now I can find my car.
Good luck with your dad, man.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Bye now. All right. Jody, I know that you're on here, and Matt is on here as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about late mortgage a little bit. How do you want to proceed here, Jody? You're unmuted.
Hey, Tim, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, so I'll just start off by introducing the product. I don't know if some of you may have got an email or heard about it, but we're excited to roll out late mortgage payments. This is a product that people could liken it to pre-foreclosure, but it's really a little bit different. So typically those pre-foreclosure leads that you're getting from, you know, a lot of the providers out there, those are on notice of default or lease pendants. So by the time that happens, there's a lot of people calling those folks. And so these leads here are people who have not gotten notice of default filed yet, but they're behind on the mortgage. So really good opportunity to get in there and help them be a first mover before the cavalry comes and you have a lot of competition there.
And Jody, I'll just, were you done?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I didn't want to interrupt you. What's really unique about it is, you know, a lot of people get a month behind on their mortgage. They get caught up. They get a month behind. They get caught up. And I agree with you. In my past life as an investor, I tried to work the in foreclosure. And man, you talk about FSBOs and expireds. Their phone is, investors find a way to find the people that are in foreclosure once the foreclosure is filed. So you have so much competition, you know, you're one of hundreds. But this is a real sweet spot Even these leads that we're getting, they're probably going to be somewhere from 2 to 5 months behind. They're just shy of, and it usually takes about 6 months for a foreclosure to get filed, sometimes longer. But there's a sweet spot there where they're far enough behind, it's becoming increasingly unlikely they're ever going to get caught up, but they're not so far behind that anybody's prospecting them yet. So it's a really sweet spot that I congratulate you for finding it. And I think it's a great opportunity for, for both realtors and investors. If you're a realtor, find an investor that can jump in there, and it's a lot of the same services too that you're offering for probate or divorce or anything else. And one of them could even be, I thought about this, you could even say to them, I've got an attorney if you need to buy some time to sell the home. I've got an attorney for X number of dollars that'll postpone the sale if it does happen. So, there's a lot of opportunity here that I've never seen anybody else offer before. So very unique, great product. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and hopefully they've got some equity in the property, and that'll make the discussion easy. But if they don't, you can be a solution provider for them. Maybe they don't understand that they could work out a deal with a lender, could do a short sale. So just like with anything, you're coming at it like a consultant and finding out what their scenario is and seeing how you can best help.
Well, and your value here is that you're, as Jim pointed out, they are a ways from foreclosure, which is nasty, really nasty on their credit. When foreclosure is filed, you've got a story to tell, which is before your credit gets irreparably damaged, let's get something in place here to, start cleaning this up. And that's quicker to get it solved for you. The faster you resolve it, the better you're back to better credit health. And I can help you do that. And that's a big part of this, is that you're trying to get in there and get something done before their credit gets literally flushed down the toilet and they're years away from being able to buy a car or a house again.
Devin.
You want to try to use that methodology because it's reality. Just because they're late, it doesn't mean that their credit is, irreparably destroyed and damaged. It's going to hit it. But, if it's late and then all of a sudden it gets cleaned up, well, that's a good thing. It's not good that it was late, but it's far better showing it late and then cleaning up is a good thing. It shows responsibility to get it fixed. Right now, they're twisting in the wind a little bit. And that's kind of the point here, that there are a lot of places that you can go find foreclosure that's kind of a dime a dozen in an oversaturated market. We're getting you in there earlier and with significantly better information than you're going to get elsewhere for this. So very important, very important. We try to do it in such a way that makes good sense, put good marketing with it, and give you a methodology to go after it. We're working actually on the scripting part of this to get you some scripted data to use to make those phone calls. And I think it's probably a reasonable time to bring Matt into this equation and talk a little bit about, how they would go about doing it as our valued third-party partner to do this work. They're great at changing their program up to work on different lead types as we go. So Matt, is this a reasonable time to ask you?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Awesome. So yeah, so my original background is in mortgage. So I'm very well versed in it. And I've noticed that the likelihood and the probability when someone is in pre-foreclosure, it's a little more challenging to get them to, like, at that point, they're so just worried about saving the house. And so you got so many people that are just pulling at them. And so I think this is it's an amazing program. I know a lot of investors that have had a ton of success with similar type of leads where they're just starting to express some financial challenges. And so a part of where we want to fit into the equation is we want to help you guys call these leads, get some appointments with them. And there's going to be folks that want to just save their home. And I mean, we can certainly talk about maybe some different scripts or framework or ways to present around that. But I feel like these folks are going to be a lot more open-minded, realizing that their credit has taken a hit. If you miss a couple mortgage payments, you're going to have a little bit of a hit on your credit. It's not going to be totally destroyed, but refinancing may not be even an option for them at that point in time. And so that's where we can all come in and help them by buying the home. At least that way they can walk away with some cash in their pocket. And so speaking of cash in pocket, Our objective and goal is to offer this to you guys for a very massive discount to get started because it is a brand new program. So we will cover up to 100 leads a month for only $4.95 for anyone that wants to get more at bats and more information on it. Feel free to go to the website here, which probably post here in the chat. But yeah, I'm excited to have our team call on this for you guys.
That's great. And you're going to make up to 10 phone calls for that. And why don't you describe a little bit about, how long that's going to last, how long it takes?
Yeah, I mean, so, on average, I mean, if let's say we have 100 leads, make, anywhere between 700 to 1,000 calls in a given month. We do up to 10 calls. Of course, if we get a hold of the person, we don't continue to call them 10 more times. That would just be absurd. But we will stay in front of them. And really the ultimate objective is just to keep you guys top of mind. And then, of course, with these leads, the one really good thing about it, there's not a lot of variables that need to take place. They either know that they need to sell their house and something's going on, or they're in that place where they're maybe trying to save. They might be trying to save the home, but at that point, getting appointments on these leads should be much easier because not many people are going after these, especially pre-foreclosures. Everyone, or like homes that already are in the foreclosure process, there's so much competition on that. So I think that's really where the most exciting part about this is that we'll call those leads, we'll be early to the party, and with the goal and objective of helping them, whether it's sell their house or maybe give them some resources or point them in the right direction, so that way when they do decide to ever sell, they're using you as their go-to person.
And Matt, there is a variable that I see here that has been a game changer for the people that I talk to and that you're calling for probate. Mm-hmm. The variable here will be, you will have some people that will say, well, I'm a couple months behind. I'm going to try to get a loan for my in-law. I mean, and to me, they have some hope, but they're also acknowledging that they're in trouble. That would be a great nurture for you to send to the agent, like you do with probate right now. Just spoke to these people, they're not quite ready yet, but they are the owners of the property. They have acknowledged they might have to sell it. That's a nurture. And then, like you're doing with probate, and you're going to have other people that, hey, their foreclosure's filed. I just got the notice. It's going into foreclosure next Tuesday. I need to sell. That's going to be an appointment. So that's the only it just strikes me as very similar to probate, that there's going to be some lead follow-up there if you catch them early. But, if you reach out and you offer them help early, you're probably going to be the only one when they are ready that they consider going with.
Yeah, and that's such a great point, because with the pre-foreclosure leads, I mean, we've called just about every lead type you can imagine. And so as far as those leads go, it's really challenging unless you're calling and you're saying, "Oh, I'm calling from the bank and we want to help you save this house and we're going to, push your payments out." It's a very high likelihood at that point they're not wanting to talk to anyone else at that point. And there's a little bit of like of just an obsession over, okay, I want to keep this house. I got to figure out a way to do it. And some of the folks we talk to are going to be like that. But the one thing I can tell you is that if you're getting to them early enough, there's nothing better than not having a foreclosure on your credit report, because having that foreclosure on your credit report is going to make it almost impossible to get yourself financed for a home for, I'd say, probably at least 5 to 7 years. And so with that being said, I mean, I see this as being a really big opportunity without as many moving parts, especially if they're just like, yeah, I realize I can't afford this place anymore and I need to make a move.
Well, and here's the other side of that. Most people that are in that situation, they have left. If they're not making their mortgage payment, there's a lot of deferred maintenance. So the house is typically, unfortunately, not in as good a shape as it would, you'd like it to be. And a lot of people think, well, I can't get anything for it because it looks bad. You have to be prepared for all those kinds of questions. And we have ways to help you help those people. There are people who will advance funds and wait for closings to get stuff done, to do some nominal curb appeal kinds of things to help the house sell for more, all that sort of stuff. If there are ways to make that happen, you're the consultant to make those things occur. And that's kind of the key element there. Alyssa, you had your hand up go ahead and I'll let you chime in here.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit of insight on how our the structure of our lead program is working at the moment. We do have self-service checkout on that. So you can go on the link that I posted a couple minutes ago in the chat, and I'll repost it again here in a second. So it's at the bottom. So you can check out the pricing for your county. But the other thing that we're offering is bundles with mailing included. So we have the opportunity for you guys to get pretty much the lowest pricing ever on mail to go ahead and, you know, attack these leads and get them marketed to as quick as possible and as affordably as possible. So not only is it a really cost-effective lead type, but we're giving you, you know, a really good opportunity to get some mail out the door at a very low rate. So definitely take advantage of that. Those are options. You can kind of pick and choose what works best for you. And then along with all of our other lead types, we do have letters available that are both realtor or investor focused. We've got brochures, flyers, postcards, and then of course we've got a credibility website template available for this lead type as well. So we've got everything you need to be successful. We also still have a couple of deals running this week. So if it's something you're interested in trying out, along with our other lead types, definitely reach out to our sales team today, tomorrow latest, to see what sweet deals we might still have left over from the holiday. But otherwise, like I said, it's a self-service checkout, so feel free to go visit that page at any time, see what we have available in your county or counties of interest, and we're ready to help.
Very good. That's super. Thank you very much. Jody, anything else you want to throw out at this point about this? I've got a couple of things I'll throw in as well, but anything else you wanted to say? I think you may be muted again, bud. Go ahead.
Yes, I was. Yeah, no, I don't really have too much more to add other than that we'll probably coordinate a specific training once we get a good batch of initial subscribers. We'll do a specialized session to talk about the best approaches and the things that people are experiencing.
Okay, and definitely we'll do that for sure. And we've already had a whole bunch of people take advantage of it. And guys, you can get started on this for as little as $69. It's not a massive investment to make to get going. Obviously, that's just getting enough to get your toes dirty. And, we would like for you to do a little bit more than that so you get enough skin in the game to make it work. You're going to work with Matt and his folks. You're going to need enough leads to work on. It's important that you kind of ratchet that up a little bit. Spend a couple $100, throw a little bit his way and start developing this pillar of your business. And like everything else, what we're trying to do is give you things that you can set up so that every month you've got sourcing coming in from, here are my 6 opportunities in older leads that I'm working on right now. Here are my 5 opportunities in probate. Here's some pre-pro that I'm working on. So every month, you start the month off, you've got a lot of stuff to work with. And late mortgage is a great pillar of that as well, because it's just a constant source. It's not changing. And as a matter of fact, the reality is you better get good at it because things are going to start changing. And the people that are in the mortgage industry will tell you that foreclosures are definitely expected to go up and go up dramatically in the next 12 months. And I think that's probably kind of goes without saying. We're going to see economic changes that are going to be pretty dramatic, and we're going to have to be smart and be sure we're in the right place at the right time. So that's why we brought this out now, to get you started with it and let you be able to hit the ground running, get tracking with it in December, so that by January you're ready to rock and roll with it. And your monthly investment's small, but you got a regular source of opportunity coming in. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. If anybody has
the only thing I would add, along with foreclosures, short sales are on the rise a little bit. Not anywhere near where they used to be, but as most of you know, my wife's done over 2,000 short sales, and she's gone from 1 every few months to 4 or 5 a month. So, and short sales and foreclosures kind of go hand in hand. So in any of these lead types, if you find anything that is upside down, we can help you with that also and make sure you still get your full commission.
Right. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be completely upside down to go to short sale. There can still be a bit of equity in it, that doesn't hurt.
Yep.
So you need to avail yourself of all of the available resources. And if you find something that looks like it might smell like a short sale, contact Jim and he'll get turned on to Pam, and they'll get you in the queue for that as well. We've got every resource known to man that we can bring to bear in this. I think that's what's important to know, is that, we started off just having leads, and we have since developed everything under the sun to try to make it easier for you and make this whole process work smoothly. Guys, we're at the top of the hour. This one went pretty quickly. We had some interesting horror stories in the beginning. I would reiterate that the horror stories are the rarities rather than the usual activities, but they do happen. And that's one of the good things about this call. We take anything and everything that comes down the pipe and love to talk about it. And I see somebody's got one loaded up for next week already. Somebody just put in the chat. Kind of late to get it out there now, so we'll wait for it next week, Carl. Hey, thanks a lot, Jimmy. I think I'm going to let you head for the barn, buddy.
All right. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank Colette, Roger, Van, Randy, Steve, John, Jody, Matt, and Alyssa for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you. Take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Have a great week. Same time next Thursday, everybody. Take care.
See you, everybody.